I think we are now live. We are live on our TikTok. And as you can see, I've changed the top things. You can't see this, Chris. Our out of 10, so not out of 10, support our new CIC business by giving us treats on the show, whether that's diamonds or gifts, whatever. And then join our writing community. So we need 1,000 followers. We are now at 592, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry, I was clicking go live on the others as well.
Oh, right. I assumed that would have just happened, but clearly not.
I didn't. But now we're live everywhere, so we're in everyone's faces.
We are, yes. We are in everybody's faces right now. And speaking
we
of
proof that men can multitask.
and speaking of faces, how is yours, Chris? How's your face today?
Yeah, it's not a bad face. I'm looking at my beard. It's getting quite long now.
Yeah, it is actually. I need a shave, but mine is nowhere near yours. But yours is. It seems very neat and like thicker around the front, but then not as thick at the sides. Is that just the light?
No, I think just naturally gifted with beard hair.
Ah, okay.
It was funny because I shaved it all off, and the kids went mental, and they were like, "Oh my god!" So I can never do that again. Even staff are commenting, so I'm never shaving again.
Yeah. Well,
It's going to be like this.
you did kind of try this before, where you're talking about growing it massively, but then you did shave it off. So I wonder how much you can keep it going now, especially through the summer when it's hot.
Yeah, I'm used to it, and do you know what? I like stroking it. Why not? Just going like that every once in a while.
You like
Especially to
stroking
amuse
it?
something. Yeah, just going. Woo.
Yeah. Well, maybe put that into context next time.
Yeah, stroking the beard.
Yes.
I think that was in context, but your mind went somewhere else.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you know me. But yeah, it's you know, a beard is a good thing to grow, and it's a sign of dedication and determination.
I think it's just a sign of being lazy, to be honest. There's a lot of effort to shave.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, the thing is, you can get good beard trimmers, but it's having to persistently keep it, tidy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So apart from the beard, how is everything else going? I know we've had a chat every day this week on TikTok because it's a new thing for us. So
Yeah, I kept up my buying used book trend.
oh, nice.
I got a book today called Crooked.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty excited about because it's taking real life events from history and blending them with a thriller and a sort of weird sci-fi creature element, I think.
Ooh.
So it's about Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Again, for our American followers. So I'll read the back. It says, "This is a story of the great con game that was the late 20th century, of America's history's worst presidency. Of how I learned to lie. It is not history as you know it. There are at least 3 sides to this story, and I'm telling both of mine. My name is Richard Millis Nixon. I swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, and I've seen the devil walk."
Oh wow. So
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
in terms of shopping for old books, where do you kind of go for that?
Yeah, I go on Amazon, and then I look at I shouldn't go on Amazon. I should go somewhere else. But I go on Amazon, and then I just look in the used, sort of like you get the option to tag down, and I think I picked that up for about £2.
Oh, okay. Like you can rebuy books on Amazon then.
Yeah, I think they all come from similar marketplaces because it's all like green environment books and stuff. But I don't mind a used book.
Yeah, I mean, I think used books is kind of sensible in the world we live in. You kind of don't want to be producing paper all the time and, green world and all that stuff. So buying secondhand books is great. There's some amazing things around the world. I know Penguin have kind of adopted it, and you can see this in a lot of places already without Penguin adopting it. But they've got like almost looks like bird boxes, the tall ones, and you've got a little window, load of books in there, and you just close the window, and people on a walk can go past and open the window and pick a book out, which I think is a great idea. And there's a similar one in my local village, which is a bus stop, and it's an old disused bus stop which has 4 kind of angles to it, and people have just filled it with books. So if you're out on a walk or you're just passing by, you can stop in there, drop your books off, or you can go and pick them up. So I think things like that are really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I like used bookstores as well. You normally find some good gems in there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, especially as an author. If people on here are authors, I've mentioned this before. I think one of the coolest things, like successful big sort of published authors do, is go into like an Asda's, and they get their book and then they sign it or leave a little message in there and put it back on the shelf. I think that's such a cool treat for someone who loves that author, then to go and find that book and pick it up.
Yeah, no, definitely, and we can do that. We can leave some books around Harrogate, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Post a few in and about and sort of let people know on social media where we put them, give them a little clue.
Ooh,
and then,
I like that.
Yeah, with some books. Yeah, I think we did it first time.
Yeah, I wonder how many people would like, if in that situation, would say, "Oh, do you know what? I want to send you my book to drop off at Harrogate somewhere during the festival."
Yeah, we can do that, definitely.
Because that would be pretty cool. It's such a great networking opportunity. We've discussed that before. So, it's like networking from a distance. If you can't make the festival, we can kind of get you there put your book in front of people.
Yeah, get people to sign it, send it to us. We'll take it with us, and we'll put them on a big green chair or something, and just say, "Look, grab a book."
Yeah. We'll just, why not? We could do that kind of same situation where we leave a bunch of books out and then people can pick them up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
There's another thing as well that I saw was very cool. I think it's in a foreign country somewhere, but they've got basically a vending machine for books, which I think is very cool. There's ones where you can have mystery books or the actual books are there, and you just, like a normal vending machine for drinks or whatever, you put your money in, you select what you want, and it chucks the book out at you. Now, generally you think, why would you do that? But if you're stuck overnight, or you go in on a business trip and you're in the train station, you can see that, and you go in about an hour's time, I'm going to be stuck in a hotel quite bored. I like the look of that book, I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's much healthier to do that.
Yeah. Well, it is, yeah. You wouldn't put weight on generally from reading that book, but the thing that's in my mind as to what the trick is with that is, how are you meant to know what the blurb of that book is unless there's like a display screen? I'm not entirely sure.
I signed up for a service once where they'd send you a book a month, and it was like a dating thing with the book. So you put your preferences in, and it would send you a blind date book every so many weeks, and you just got a random one based on what you liked and what your interests were and stuff, and got some good books that way.
Did you have any that you didn't quite like?
Oh yeah, plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine if you've got a book you don't like but it's been sent to you for that month, do you feel like kind of the urge to kind of just at least give it a bit more of an effort than you normally would?
If it's got Jane Austen's name on the front, no. But yeah, ordinarily I would find another home for it if you get that.
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? There's always someone that likes those sorts of books, so we could potentially get those to people if they need it.
Yeah, and there's some good books coming out this week as well. I know Will Carver, friend of the show, he's been on 3 times. He's got a book out called Kill Them With Kindness, which is all about a pandemic.
Yeah.
I started reading that, and again, it took me right back to COVID. Not sure how comfortable I was with it, but I get what he was doing, and it was an interesting idea.
Yeah, well, Will Carver, as you mentioned, a friend of the show, I messaged him about whether he's coming to Harrogate this year or not, and he wasn't planning on it. But as we said, we were going. He said, well, now that's changed my temptation. So he is tempted to try and get there for at least one day to come and see us and say hello and mingle with us. So if you do get there, Will Carver, we'd love to see you again and to enjoy a beer, I'm sure.
Yeah, and pick up his books, because Will Carver's books are like nothing you'll have ever read before, I guarantee it. He's got one, so I've got one on my shelf.
Yeah. The last one I've read of... Go on.
It's called The Daves Next Door. I've never read anything like this book. It's brilliant. Sort of a weird blend of sort of Fight Club and how can I describe it? I love the narrative of it because it's all told from different perspectives of different neighbours that live in this sort of flat, and they're all weird in their own unique ways. But it's a great book.
Yeah.
So he's got a delusion nurse suddenly learns how to care. An injured young sportsman wakes up to find that he can only see in black and white. A desperate old widower takes too many pills and believes that two angels have arrived to usher him through purgatory. Two agoraphobic men called Dave share the symptoms of a brain tumour and frequently wake their neighbours with their ongoing rows. Separate lives running in parallel, destined to collide and then explode, like the suicide bomber riding the circle line day after day, waiting for the right time to detonate, waiting for his answers to the question, am I God, am I dead, will I blow up this train?
Wow.
So yeah, really unique book. Never read anything like it. Just reading the blurb brought me straight back to it. Some really good dialogue as well, really interesting. And I think if you're into something a little bit different, this is definitely a book for you to pick up from Will Carver.
Yeah, that does sound fantastic. The last book of his I read was Psychopaths Anonymous, and I found that really, really interesting and something that I could see very much adapted into a TV show. With the kind of aspects and the murder style of it, you know, and he does write really well in a blend of sort of crime fiction and thriller, with a bit of intenseness in there as well. So I really like his writing.
Yeah, I know one of his books has been picked up for a TV show, and it will be a great show. It will fit in the sort of Netflix, Amazon sort of Apple big pushes, and it will be a great show because, like I said, he's writing so unique and his characters are great. They've always got problems. They've always got some weird element to them as well, and how they face those issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his stuff adapted to TV because I think it's going to take off in a big way.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, he's prolific with his writing, and he's been working hard for a long time, and we've learnt that very well on the show. So you know, if anyone deserves a break, it's going to be people like him.
Oh yeah, definitely, and he's kind of been on the sort of cusp of that sort of big push for a while. I know last time he came on, he talked about having a new agent, and again, that's going to push him a little bit more. And I think Will Carver is definitely one that we'll see explode at some point, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. On the other streaming platforms there, Chris, do we have any questions, or can you... Maybe if you guys have got questions, I know this is going to multiple platforms, mainly on TikTok, because this is our new thing that we're trying out. So if you've got questions on TikTok, please send them in. But also, Chris can see the comments from everybody else on, I believe, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on Twitter or X. Yeah, so if you've got questions, chuck them in there and we'll answer them, because kind of this is what this show is all about. It's not our usual interview show. This is where we just come, relax, chat about writing, chat about life, and answer any questions you might have. So think about it, chuck some in the comments for us.
Yeah, and you had a good structure at the start of the show for things that we could discuss as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. Before we do that, any more recommendations from you in terms of... I know you're a NetGalley book reviewer as well, so any recommendations that, say, someone who's maybe a bit more entry level of a reader would like to get into?
Oh, entry level reader. Wow. That's a tough ask.
Yeah, put you right on the spot there.
Yeah.
Well, we can scrap that if you want. You just go for any recommendation.
I'm going to go with somebody else that we've had on the show. We had him on once, Steve Kavanagh. His books are really easy to read. They've always got great twists. This is The Devil's Advocate, and basically says he's won every trial because he's behind every murder. And again, really good thriller series, really good characters. This is part of a series which you can pick up at any time, but all these books do read as standalones. And again, he does write top-notch thrillers with really good twists. So he would be the one that I picked if I was going to say an entry-level reader. And he's got so many great books just on the back. 13 is one of a really good book that he wrote. Twisted is a brilliant one if you like twists, obviously. And I don't think you will ever guess the sort of big twists, and that's what I like about Steve Kavanagh's books?
Well, I reshared a video that we made a couple of years ago, which was 10 writing tips from 10 writing community authors. And I watched it back through out of curiosity because I completely forgot what the content was. And there's some great people in there. And one of them was Tony Lee, who has written a lot of comics, and he's written for Doctor Who and lots of other stuff. And he was talking about the kind of writing course that he took a long time ago. And I'll probably get a lot of this indifferent to what it was, but basically talked about how starting at the end and then major points through the middle is a great way to do it if you're writing kind of twisty stuff, because if you know the ending, you know what's happened, and therefore you can plant things along the way, and it's part of like your light structure. So you've got the kind of the major plot points, but you've got the ending that can be adapted, of course, but then you know how to sort of weave between those little pointers and things like that. So it was a really good tip, and I'm trying to get a new top 10 writing video done with a different amount of authors, a different version this time, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I remember Sarah Pimbrough when she was on, she wrote Behind Blue Eyes.
Behind Her Eyes, yeah.
Behind Her Eyes, yeah. But she does exactly the same thing. She has the ending, and then she works her way backwards from that point, which again, I think is a really interesting way of doing it. A lot of authors don't like that. They like to, set the tone and pace their way through and see where the characters take them. But I think if you're writing for that sort of big publishing world, I think starting at the end can be a really good thing, especially if you're committed to it. Because for me, it would probably switch me off. I'd be like, oh no, it ends. But obviously, a lot of people, really successful people that we've had on the show, always start with the ending and then work their way backwards.
Yeah, I imagine. I see what you're saying there in terms of writing. You might get a bit unmotivated knowing where it's going, but at the same point, if you're really into that kind of breaking down a story and really making it a craft or like an art, so it's going to really bend the minds of the reader, then potentially if you're that way inclined, then you're going to really enjoy that kind of process in that sense. And that kind of goes on to the discussion we were talking about with pantsers versus plotters. I mean, when you're pantsed in, you don't really know what's coming next in the next scene, not to mention the end of the story. So where do you sit on that fence there, Chris?
I think the best novelists do plan, but I think the best stories pants, because obviously if they don't know where it's going, you don't know where it's going as a reader. I think Stephen King is obviously an example of that. Like some of his work, you think, oh, this is great, until the end, and then you're like, oh. So I think there's a fine balance between the two. I think if you can get that right. Obviously, we interviewed John York for the show, Into the Woods. He wrote a really good book for writers about structure and what you expect to see in a novel. So he's a good one to look at for structure.
Yeah.
So he wrote how stories work and why to tell them. Obviously, we've talked about Save the Cat multiple times as well. Lots of authors have been successful using that structure. So I think you can find a balance between the two. And if you find that, I think you'll write a really good book.
Oh, definitely. I just put a poll up on... Hello! We love you. I just put a poll up on TikTok and asking, what is your writing style? A pantster, a plotter, or both? We'll see. We've got 20 minutes on that poll. We'll see what comes back. And speaking of Halo, I filled out a web-based a text version of an interview for the show yesterday, and it asked for 2 recommendations at the end. One of them was Dale Roberts, Self-Publishing with Dale. Been on our show a couple of times. He's a fantastic advocate for writers and authors and does great tips of videos. So I recommended him, and I also recommended Halo Scott because she has supported this show since day one. She's amazing and an amazing indie author who sets the standard for what indie authors should be like. So I recommended you as well. So you may have an email popping up in your inbox. FYI.
Nice. Yeah, Halo's a really good author. Again, if you like things on the darker side of life, and you're into your fantasy and your sci-fi and your horror, she's a perfect person for that. And again, when we talked before about Will Carver with brilliant characters, Halo's characters are right up there with the best of them as well. They're always really emotionally involved, and the stories that she tells through them are brilliant.
Yeah, and very dark, in the best kind of way. Yes. I'm trying to figure out all the things on TikTok here, and the flare. I've got a flare, so I'm going to use it. No idea what a flare does. We'll see. But yes, she is a great author, and we've had a lot of great authors on the show. And as I said yesterday, there's a few watching on TikTok. There's a few watching elsewhere. So please let us know. We talked about how we've had a lot of requests for authors to come on the show from publishers, a lot of personal requests from people on email and through social media. And we've interviewed over 350, maybe 360 people by now, which is incredible. And we are about to start season 16, and we've already got some great guests lined up for season 16. But we would love to have your recommendations, because you guys might have a completely different perspective on somebody that we might not have heard of, or someone you love who's just released a book, or things that we would have missed out on that would make a great interview. And we talk about the author, about their journey through their career and into writing, and through writing up into the most modern point of their storytelling. So it's a great conversation, really insightful, and if you've got someone you can recommend, we would love that. So please let us know in the comments who you would like to see.
Yeah, we've got a comment here from Natalia. I'm sorry if I butchered that. But I often skip around if I have a particular scene that I really just need to get down, or if I'm having a block. I found writing a different scene helps me past it. Yeah, again, really good advice there. You might not always be in the mood to write that next scene that you want to get down on the page. So sometimes just skipping around. And again, that can be a really creative way of getting past that block and moving on to something else, writing different scenes. I think when I wrote my first book, I did that a little bit too much, because looking back on it now, there's a few random chapters where I'm like, why did I keep that in? But yeah, it's a good way to get past it. And writing something different in a different genre, or trying a bit of non-fiction or a bit of poetry, again, that can sometimes just get those creative juices flowing again. So yeah, Natalia, that again, really good advice there.
Yeah, that is. We've also had a couple of comments on TikTok, recommendations. Kristen Hannah, I'm not aware of her, and Stacey Willingham.
Yeah, those two are the big fish for us next. Especially Kristen Hannah. In my household, she's much loved, and Stacey Willingham as well. So I know Kristen Hannah does work for Pan Macmillan, or work with Pan Macmillan. So yeah, I'm going to try and put some feelers out for that Harrogate.
Well, also we have all the contacts and information for Pan Macmillan, including their list of authors, and it is a substantial list. So it could be a little bit rude, but we could look through that entire list and pick out a load of people that we want, and just spam their emails and see what comes back.
Yeah, definitely, it's worth a try. Again, likewise, if you've got a manuscript, or if you've got a first few pages that you want to try it, if you think Pan Macmillan is the right place for you, send us a few pages and we'll try and pass it on for you.
Well, of course, the fact that we started the show was to give back to the writing community and give them a platform for their voices and showcase their work. Now we've started this as a business, for those that don't know, a community interest company, which is a non-profit social enterprise. We're looking at really taking that to the next step, where we help people out even further, and we're creating sort of writing courses, and we're going to start workshops on writing and mental health. And one stage we want to get to is we're helping people with a lot of those writing sort of avenues. Now, if that is one of them, that we use our connections that we've already established. We've got a lot of publishers who've worked with us, and we have worked for the last 4 years or so with Pan Macmillan, and I've got a great relationship with them. There is no reason to say that we couldn't come up with some sort of business side with that company that says, if we were to have a look into an author and they gave us a lot of their work and they sort of pitched themselves and we believed it was a valuable pitch, would you be happy for us to pass it on to you? And I'm sure we could get in there and do that.
Yeah, and I think as well, doing pitches online, and inviting people on. I was thinking about this actually the other day, doing like a pitch sort of show. So all the publishers that we work with and stuff, we could record a show where people come on, they pitch their book, just a blurb at the back or maybe even the first page, read it on the show, and then people can watch this show and potentially avoid that slush pile.
Yeah.
Because obviously I know a lot of people work an awful lot to try and get their books and their writing seen. So if we can do that and provide a platform where people can go, oh, I've just finished this manuscript, here's the blurb, here's the pitch, and we could do a show like that, maybe we could get a few careers launched.
Well, yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Oh, new follower, thank you, username. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to trying to get that ball rolling where we're helping everybody. So we're at your service. And one thing we did recommend for a live show the other day was, if you want to send us maybe your first page or a blurb or even your cover, we can do reviews, we can do certain shows. So we could get a bunch of covers that people have sent us in, we can discuss from our experience and look at all the books we've had sent to us, and just kind of break it down between what we can see, what other books are like in that field, and even the bestsellers, and give you a bit of feedback. Same with the blurb and same with the first sort of page. And we'll be completely honest, if we're feeling like that first page is striking us in a good way, we'll let you know. If we feel like it's just missing something, we'll let you know that too. But it will always be a constructive sort of manner, so that's something we can do. If you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, remember, obviously front covers and stuff like that are quite unique and personal to each individual. There's some really good ones. Obviously, I'm going to mention Bob Mortimer again.
Just keep doing it, Chris. Keep doing it.
Yeah, having an avocado and a squirrel.
Oh yeah.
Some people would think that's not a great front cover, but for the book, it works. It's perfect. Nice and sleek. Again, crooked. You just got a sort of mask of Nixon's face on there. Lexicon that I mentioned the other day, just a great big eye, got loads of words in the middle. And again, they're all unique, and they fit the book's purpose. So, what I would say with covers is just go with your gut in terms of what you want to see on the front cover, what you're happy with, and then, if you want to send it in, we'll have a look.
Yeah, definitely do that. Our email is thewritingcommunitychatshow@gmail.com, and you can send us stuff there if you'd like to do that. And just maybe put the subject as cover review or first page review or blurb review, and then we'll pick that up amongst our many emails we get from everybody. Yes, what I was going to say was, the one cover that always stands out for me was another guest we've had on the show, Antti Tormainen. Actually said that right once. He's got The Rabbit Factor. It's an amazing bright orange cover with a big rabbit on the front, and for some reason every book I look at, if that's around, I'm there. I'm looking at that book.
Yeah, a lot of publishers are using bright oranges and things like that. Obviously, I've got here the Necromancer. Again, quite a detailed cover, but again, stands out. Orange. I know when we did the sort of design for the Writing Community Chat Show, yellow was something that came up, and obviously that's what we went with. But if you can make your book stand out in that respect, and it be the one that your eye is drawn to, then yeah, maybe it's a good start.
Yeah, and like you said about cover design, I'm always the person that says this because I kind of believe it from my personal view. I know a lot of other people will go with look at the bestsellers and kind of use it or aim your stuff towards that. But personally, when it comes down to your writing, what story you're writing, especially if it's your first, or the covers that you're making, if you're making them yourselves, is if you like it, somebody else will. So that's the ethos I go by. Whether it's the right call, I don't know. But yeah, especially if it's your first one and you're just getting that, I don't want to say out the way, but we talk about author brand on this show quite a lot, and you need a bit of a catalogue to get that ball rolling. So your first book, well, especially your first draft, can be pretty rubbish, and that's perfectly normal and fine.
Yeah, and obviously people have talked about getting to the end. It's easy to edit a first draft and go back, especially with time. A lot of authors that we've had on the show have said they leave it for a bit and then they come back to it. That's probably the best way to do it. But if you leave it and come back to 70, 80,000 words, it's probably more likely that you're going to end up publishing that and getting it out into the world. Whereas if you leave it at a couple of thousand, it's just an idea for a book that you had that's still unfinished and unwritten.
Yeah. I'd like to play a little game, Chris, if that's all right with you.
Go on then.
What I'd like to see the viewers do is comment into the chat 3 random words that we will try to put a little blurb together from in a comedy style, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It might be a difficult challenge, but if we could pick those 3 words up and make a really bizarre, funny little blurb for it, we'll try and read it back to you after.
Yeah, remember we did this we did the panel shows, and the panel shows are my favourite shows because it was like an old school game show where we get different authors on different teams, and this was one of the tasks. And believe it or not, even the best sort of published authors that have written many books that we had on the show at that point did struggle with this because it is really tricky. Get 3 random words, come up with some sort of blurb in the space of a couple of minutes. It's tricky, but yeah, we'll give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. We have had 3 words on the TikTok comments, which is Rose, Puppy and Help.
Rose, Puppy and Help.
Yep. I'm not sure how we're going to manage this whilst we're doing the stream, but we'll figure it out. Yeah. And what else? Yeah, I mean, we talked about the show we've got on Friday, yesterday, and that is the creator of Comedy Central, who has now written his own first novel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We've had another 3 words as well. These are quite hard. Notebook, skull, and origami.
Oh, wow. Dear me! Are you making a note? Are you making a note of these?
Yeah, notebook, skull, and origami.
Okay. So we'll have to pick out as many words as we can from that and then try and put them together, maybe for the end of the show. Let me see if I can get my notepad up on the screen and see if that won't mess anything up. Okay, so what do we have? We had Rose.
Rose, Puppy and Help.
And Help. Then...
Notebook, skull, and origami.
Alright.
I reckon Halo could come up with a pretty good blurb for Notebook, Skull, and Origami.
Yeah, I think so. We've had 2 supporters out of the 10 for our new CIC business on TikTok, so thank you very much for that. 2 roses. Again, no idea what roses do, but thank you. It's on the goals, it's going up, that's what we care about. Yeah, I think one thing I'd love to see more of on season 16 of our show is a lot more there's a lot more memoir type authors because we know they're going to have great stories. And we've had 3 more words come in, Chris. Beard, referencing your face, I think.
Yep.
E.T.
Oh my god, get rid of that one.
And teacher. Yeah, good luck.
It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, if we get like 50 words, then we can just kind of put them into a sentence somehow, and then we've got a blurb. Kind of. But yes, more memoir authors, and I know you keep saying about Bob Mortimer. Yes, he would be great. And what we should do is, I tell you what, I think you should grab that book that you keep showing us, and you should do your plea for him to come on the show, and I will clip it and I'll post it and tag him.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of pressure live, you know, because obviously Bob Mortimer, you want to be funny, and I don't know if I can do that off the cuff. But Bob Mortimer, the Hotel Avocado, the writer of that, and the writer of the Satsuma Complex. We had a vision yesterday of you having a shower and then getting out with your towel on, but we would love you to come on the Writing Community Chat Show, fully clothed, ready to chat about your books. And we can provide the squirrels, because we all know, obviously, you love to throw in a squirrel into the mix. We can even send you some nuts if you like. And I know you like Viscounts, so we'll send you a packet of Viscounts as well if you can come and chat to us about all things writing comedy, because obviously you can clearly see we're not very good at that, and we need some tips I need some tips for writing comedy, and obviously I know you do your own dentistry as well, which is fascinating. So I'd love to chat to you about how you do that in this day and age. And I also know that he broke his teeth on a Kit Kat Chunky.
Oh, wow.
So again, I think that's a story we'd like to delve into. So we won't send you any Kit Kat Chunkies, but we can provide a squirrel and some nuts if you come chat to us on the
and vice counts that you said you could have.
Yeah, and vice counts, which are the little minty green chocolate things. Individually wrapped.
I wonder if breaking his teeth on the Kit Kat was the kind of inspiration for the dentistry work.
I think it was after he did his own dentistry. He put his front teeth, I don't know. This is why I watch out to him, because I don't know how you would do your own dentistry, but apparently he does. And apparently just before a show he broke his teeth on a Kit Kat Chunky.
Wow. Well, I've heard of some excuses to pull out of a show, but Bob?
Yeah, that's right up. Definitely.
Well, interesting. So that's your pitch for Bob Mortimer. We will post that. And who else? Should we do any more kind of pitches to people to come on the show?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not too sure who we could pitch. I know Simon Sinek is one that we want to get on.
That is true. Well, we could do that between us.
Yeah. We'll try and throw in those words as well. So
that would be good.
Simon Sinek. I am a teacher with a beard who hates ET. I have a notebook in front of me. I've got a skull somewhere on my desk, and I'm rubbish at origami. We've been given 2 roses today. I haven't got a puppy, but we need your help. So I want you to help us find our why, find our reason, and teach us all about leadership. And if you could do that, and maybe teach us a bit of origami, I'd be eternally grateful.
Wow, Chris Hooley, that was exceptional. You had every single word done there, and I'm going to give you a clap on the sound effects, which you can't hear, sadly. You hit every word that was on that list.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Incredible. I thought you were going to miss a few out, and then I was going to jump in at the end and then put them in. But you did that.
Come on, Simon. I got 9 words in that pitch. Start with why. We'd love to chat to you. Inspire all the leaders around the world.
Absolutely. And because Chris has talked about it so much in that book and the reasoning behind it, he's got me to go and get a copy of this that I haven't got yet, but it's on its way. And also the course for writers I'm creating, the very first chapter is about finding out your why, because it's very relatable. Even though I haven't read that book yet, I understand all the aspects of knowing what the why is and why it's so important, and mixing that with resilience and motivation, and having your why there as a backup and as that driving force for the motivation. So a lot of that is about author motivation, and I'm sure if you came on and talked to us about it, we could actually boost that ever so much more and really get an insight as to why you have your why and why that book came around.
Yeah, and we promise if you do come on, we'll try and ban the word why.
Why?
Yeah. I'm trying to write a blurb, but it's quite difficult whilst talking at the same time. I've got 1 word down. I've got rose.
Yeah, but I think what you just did was even just as funny, using the words in the conversation. So I don't know. Are there any of our locals, as in our usual followers of the show, chatting on the socials with you, Chris? And would any of them like to come and chat to us for about 10 minutes to talk about life and writing?
Maybe. Yeah, we've got a lot of people watching the show and stuff now. If you want to get involved, if you want to send us a question, we can see them. If you want to send us any recommendations, or if you want to come and chat to us for a little bit about all things writing, we have got a little bit of a schedule that we're going through with things that we're looking at and talking about. But yeah, if you want to come in and chat about something different, then yeah, we'd be more than up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that I wanted to discuss was for new authors. It's not for new authors, it's for every author. But new authors, when they release their book, when they're indie authors and they get that book out there and they're super excited, I saw it on Twitter the other day. Still Twitter. We're not calling it X. Their first review came in, and it was like a 1-star review, and they were obviously really they probably were heartbroken. It's understandable, the amount of time and effort that goes into writing a book. But what I was replying to them and saying is, don't stress about it. Especially with your first book, you're going to have mistakes. That's absolutely natural. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, regardless of who you are. Whether your book is a New York Times bestseller, I can guarantee you go and look on the biggest books in the top charts, there's going to be 1-star reviews in there too. And everybody I've asked about it on the show tend to come back with the same answer. I don't look at them. As much as we want to, because as new authors we're keen to know what people think. There's going to be good reviews, there's going to be bad ones, and what we've got to do is kind of create a hard skin to not get sort of sucked into that mentality where we're looking at all the negative side of things, because it's only going to hinder us as writers and creators. What we've got to do is take the comments of people we know, take the comments of people we don't, and really harness that for our momentum to go forward. Because if you get stuck into that mindset of looking at all the negative comments, it's very tempting to do that. It's only going to do one thing, which is bring you down. So just ignore it. Don't worry about the 1 stars. Know that everybody gets them, including the biggest bestsellers. Even I think it was Tina Baker came on the show, and she said that the one star review she had that really made her laugh was that they had a 1 star because the Amazon packaging that was delivered, which the book was inside of, was damaged. And now if you're silly enough to give a 1-star review to an author because the packaging of the book is damaged, then please don't leave a review in that sense. If you are good and you do know how to leave a review and you are positive, even if it's not a 5-star review, if you're leaving a 2-star or a 3-star and you leave a good reason as to why, constructively, that's going to help everybody. So be nice.
Yeah, it would. I did write a bit of a blurb, but it's not amazing. So obviously context behind this, if you've just joined, we had some random words thrown into the chat. So we had rose, puppy, help, notebook, skull, origami, beard, ET, teacher. So this is what I wrote. Rose was a simple child who hated puppies but liked origami. But it was proven very difficult and quite fiddly. The skulls were impossibly fiddly. Her teacher was an arsehole who had a terrible beard and looked like E.T., only taller. She needed help to leave her world behind, but she only had a notebook, a pen, and a half-eaten banana. Life was ripe for the taking. I do need to finish it off. There was no story there. But I was trying to get somewhere.
That was impressive. I mean, twice you've nailed that with all the comments, with all the words put into the comments. I don't think.
Could do with a few more to finish it off, so it actually sounds like a story. For a minute.
It wasn't quite like you said. There wasn't really a purpose behind that blurb, apart from the fact you named all the things and there was a character involved. So, I think you've got the basis there. Whereas I haven't started mine. So,
yeah, we've got a character, Rose. She's a simple child. She loves origami, but it's pretty tricky. Hates puppies. Teacher's a bit of an arsehole. Looks like E.T. with a beard. And the half-eaten banana was a weird one.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that came from.
No, neither am I.
So if anyone else wants to add some words to this story that we need to create, please do send them into the chat and we'll add them to the list. And I will try. If Chris, you want to waffle for a couple of minutes, I'll try and do mine.
Yeah. What can I waffle? Normally recommending books is a good waffle.
Yep.
Let's see if people have read. Ooh, right. This is a book that a lot of people have read. I know a lot of people have read The Book Thief. Did you like The Book Thief? Yes or no? This is a book that I've tried to start multiple times. Everyone says to me, "Oh, you'll love it. It's written from the perspective of death." Obviously, those of you who know me from the chat show will know that that's the type of thing that I write and enjoy writing about. But I've tried it twice and I've not been able to get into it. So did you read The Book Thief and did you enjoy it? Is it worth persevering? Because it's here, sat on my shelf, but I've not got into it yet. So if you're watching and you've seen The Book Thief, let us know in the comments if you've seen it, or seen it through to the end, should I say. And we're on 42 people watching live on our various platforms, which is great. Again, anyone who knows her from the show, I love Douglas Adams, and 42 is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. So we're currently there right now. And yeah, we'd love some more words. If you could throw some more words into the chat, because my story with Rose, puppy hating origami creator, with the bad teacher, doesn't know where she's going yet. There's no end or no plot pitch to this story. It's just a bit random at the moment. So a few more words would be great. What else have we got?
Paige in the chat on this side says yes, she loved that book.
Yeah. A lot of people do love it. A lot of people cry. They get to the end and stuff like that. I've heard really good things about it, but I've never been able to read it more than a few pages, which is it's weird when that happens. Some books just don't feel right when you start reading them. So yeah, maybe that is something that we could look at. Again, writing advice. There's 2 books here. I know a lot of people watch the show for writing advice, but these are 2 that I'd recommend. So Will Store, The Science of Storytelling. That's a really good book in terms of like how to hit your readership and what readers are looking for when they're writing. And then this one as well on editing is, I don't want to say it's a boring book, but it's a very informational, is that even a word? Informative. It's a very informative book. Yeah, I don't understand either. It's a very informative book on editing. So if you're struggling at the minute with your draft and you want to get it polished off before you send it to somebody else, I would definitely recommend picking up this book on editing, because it's a really good, useful tip and guidebook for how to cut and kill your darlings, as Stephen King would say. And Chris, look at his concentration face right now.
Doing something good here.
He's doing something good. So, again, if you've just joined us, what we're doing is we've got some random words from the chat. We try and come up with a bit of a plot with those random words in a couple of minutes, but obviously we're also talking at the same time, which can prove a little tricky. So if you want to try this at home, again, get your creative juices flowing. The words were Rose, Puppy, Help, Notebook, Skull, Origami, and Beard, E.T. and Teacher. And yeah, somebody who was watching the show threw that in because I was terrified of E.T. I've made my peace with E.T. at the minute. I still can't watch it, but yeah, we've crossed a bridge, so to speak, myself and E.T. I saw him in Star Wars the other day, and that didn't freak me out as much as I thought it would. So we're getting there. If he turns up in my garden, I will still freak out. But yeah, we're getting somewhere. And also, as well, every time I go in my garage, I still think he could be there. Even though I check every single time, and it terrifies me, I still think he could be lurking.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to hear what I've written in that time?
Yep.
Also, you need to make sure and tick them off, because I've made an actual blurb. Well, actually, have I? I've set a scene.
Okay.
So you'll have to tick them off. So,
I will.
A house sat on a cliff edge. The wind howled. A puppy sat beyond the open door that swung back and forth in the wind. The rain lashed down, seeping through the window and soaking into an old leather notebook. The house belonged to a teacher, an old, lonely teacher. The whispers in the village called him an origami killer. Rumour says he would leave a rose sat on the skull once he stripped the flesh from it. The dog howled. The wind forced the window open. A picture hung on the wall. The image of E.T. thrashed back and forth. His expression screamed help.
Oh, you almost got all of them apart from Beard.
No! Damn it!
Beard was the only one that you were missing.
That was easy to put in because the teacher could have a big beard. Easy.
Yeah, a bearded teacher.
Damn it!
We got most of them, mate. So that was a good shout.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you went horror vibes as well.
You know me. That's kind of where I go. It's my love. Yeah, I've gone blurry as well. That's how intense I was there.
Yeah, I'm sure people watching could do a better job than what we did. So those are your words: Rose, Puppy, Help, Beard, E.T., Teacher, Notebook, Skull, and Origami. So again, if you've got a really good one, or even just one that's better than ours, which let's be honest, not that difficult, send it in and we'll read it on the show. And yeah.
Yeah, well, you could do that right now, would be great. Or if you want to take your time with it, send it into our email address or DM us on socials, and we might read it on Friday's show, or the after show, which we'll try and do on here as well.
I liked your use of the origami killer there, mate. I think that was good.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's not beyond something you would hear in a movie, origami killer.
Ooh. Yeah, and then leaving a little origami rose. Again, nice little backstory. Definitely better than my half-eaten banana attempt.
Yeah, you added words that weren't even there.
Yeah. So I was kind of anticipating someone put banana in there, to be honest. So I think that's why it was in my mind.
Oh, something you always have in your mind, the phallic-shaped fruit.
Yes, I mean, they are full of potassium and very good for you. So
yeah. They are indeed. What else were we going to talk about, Chris? I've lost track with this writing.
Yeah, you had the schedule, mate.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Sorry, I thought a comment came in there. Well, one of them was Ask Us Anything, which we've tried to do. Tim McKay, hello.
He says, howdy, folks.
Tim McKay.
Howdy to you, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
I feel like I've had a conversation with Tim, and he's friends with someone that's a singer.
Mm. Yeah, he looks like he might be friends with someone who's a singer.
Please remind us, Tim, because I've got a memory like a sieve. Have we had a conversation about someone who's a singer? I think we have, and I can't put my tongue on it. I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, we knew you were.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Oh yeah, so we had Ask Us Anything. What else did we have?
Yeah, if famous authors were your mates, who do you think you would actually, not just because of who they are, but like who would be a good friend of yours? Do you think, like if you're going out for the day, it would be an author that you would actually get on with?
I mean, Will Dean came to mind straight away, just because. If anyone's ever been around Will Dean, when he's in events or in a bar, it's like God has just put an aura around a person, and he's like a magnet for everyone. I've seen grown men and women go weak at the knees with Will Dean in their presence.
It's very true. So, it's very true. I've seen it myself multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as well, I had the pleasure of having a drink with him once, and after a book signing and stuff, and yeah, just the way people look at him, man, that would be a very good buddy to have. He'd be a great little wingman, I think, in that department, just in terms of like bringing people over to your table, people to chat to.
Would he be the wingman?
No, I don't mean like in a sort of dating scenario. I mean like he would bring the conversation, like people just flock to him, and like I don't know, he'd be great to be around, in and around him, in that setting.
He often turns up. He's quite tall. He's got all I ever notice is the jacket, and he's got a big jacket on. Is it green?
Yeah, he has a green jacket. He has a grey beard.
He pulls off the collars slightly up, not in a weird way. He's got a big beard, big flock of hair. He looks like a bit of and he lives. Well, this is the other thing to make him even cooler. He lives in a wood cabin in... Do you remember where, Chris?
Sweden.
In Sweden, in the sticks, with mountains behind and snow, and he does these writing videos. He's got this enormous dog that looks the size of a horse, that is massive, and he takes that dog in the night, he films it, pitch black through a forest, which is... I would love this for inspiration for writing my horrors, and then goes into this little cabin that's his writing cabin. Just to make him even cooler.
Yeah, to make you feel even more emasculated. He built his own house with his own hands, and he's a great writer as well. So
and he chops his own wood.
He does chop his own wood. He's just got a lot of things going for him, that guy. So yeah, I think if you're a mixture of the 5 people you spend the most time with, I think if I had to pick a writer friend, I think it'd be Will Dean. Tim's commented a little bit. So he said, "Lol, it's been said that I have a hipster indie rock band look. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I can't claim any such associations." And Halo said, You're definitely rocking that vibe, Tim, and I agree with that indie rock band look there, Tim. But yeah, I like it.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else who's got the vibe, and I've chatted to. Yeah, but yes, you do look like that. I think I'm losing myself, Chris.
It was the mentioning of Will Dean. That's what it was. He started to go weak at the knees.
Well, yeah, I'm sat up, so the knees are dangling. Yeah, I think there's a few authors kicking around, and not to say I would be great friends with, which is the question, but after my interview with Max Brooks, I think to sit around, for example, that old conversation of sitting around a dinner table with authors, I think Will Dean would be there. Max Brooks I'd love to have there, because he's got so much to talk about, not just writing, but amazing things. Say we got a table of 8, Chris. That's 4. What other 4 can we have on the table?
Well, again, I'm just going off my own experiences of having met these people, so I kind of already know what they're like. So Stu Turton was another one for me. Again, he's a really prolific author. He always writes bestsellers. And for some reason, like when I met him, he made writing seem like really easy. And he was like, because I said to him, expecting some sort of like profound speech from him when I said, like, how'd you do it? Like, why write sort of thing? And he was just like, I do it because I'm good at it. I was like, what? Do you not like it? And he was like, it's all right. And I was like, no, you're a bestseller. Like, you've sold millions of copies. Like,
please tell us you slaved away at it. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And no, he was just like, yeah, I do it because I'm good at it. And yeah, so that he would be on my table just because I feel like his confidence would rub off, and then I'd be like, do you know what? This thing is easy. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's another good addition. I think I would go for Adele Parks.
Nice.
She's due to come back on the show. She came on a couple of years ago, and she'd just released the book the day before, and so I asked her, did she have a hangover? Because classically you release a book, you go on a party sort of thing if you're at that stage or that level. And she was like, yeah, just a little, and she was laughing her head off. And ever since that very first comment, that it was just a fun interview, and she was a very funny person. So adding that into the mix, a bit of a social I don't want to say hand grenade because I don't know that, but a bit of a social flair added to that table so far.
And on that mix of people, and especially female authors that are really funny, again, another friend of the show who we've spoken to multiple times, Kristen Bailey.
Yes.
She is brilliant, both as an author and to chat to as a person. She's, she does loads of things with her kids, and she loves being a mum. But again, she's a prolific writer, writes really funny comedy, like romance, sexy sort of romance comedy books. And again, I think she'd just be a really good person to have around the table and have a good chat with and a good laugh with. So I think she would be right up there as well.
Sarah says she loves Kristen. Yeah, we do too. Is she still with Bookercher, do you know?
I think so, yeah. I think I don't know if I've got my phone, but I've got her last book on my phone. I'm just going to have a little peek as to what that is.
So are we up to 6 now? We've got 2 more spaces on the table, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to another guy here was Christopher Polaha, and I always called him the wrong name, Polaha. Christopher Polaha, because he's Hawaiian. He was brilliant to chat to multiple times. We've had him on the show, and he's just fantastic, and he's a great charismatic person. Hello, Noel. Yes, he's brilliant. So I think that would be number 7. So you got one more spot to fill on that table. Oh, great!
That was Kristen Bailey's latest book, Great Expectations, and again, she writes. I think it's the Callahan sisters.
Yes.
That all her stories are set around. But again, they're always hilarious. Every time I read one of her books, it always makes me laugh a lot. And And again, that's hard to say. But I'm going to go with people who make me laugh a lot to pick the final spot, and I'm going to pick C.K. McDonald, who we had on, who was just absolutely brilliant, and I would love to have a conversation and have him around the table. He was so funny. He was, obviously he used to be a stand-up as well. So again, I think he would personally, if I had to pick the final seat, he would be the one for me, because I think we have similar sort of reading sort of interests, and I think he's really, really funny. The bits that he did with the radiator on the show, and he did the advertisement and stuff like that. So I think he would be my personal choice.
Yeah, that is a great addition. Just to explain it to you guys, we went through a phase of people sending us videos ahead of time before the show to advertise they'll be on the show, which is great, and sometimes we still get that. And he sat with in this room with a radiator, big tall one behind him, and a room to the right hand side behind him, and he was just chatting about coming on the show. He basically said, the show's going to go wild, everyone's going to get bored of me, going to start talking random nonsense, the Chris's won't know what the hell's going on, blah blah blah, talking about the radiators again. So we were like, what is going on here? And then at the end he says, you got to love the dog. And then this dog appears and starts running in circles right next to the radiator. Like, how was that planned? How is that possible? I'll have to find it and post it, because it's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, we've got some people coming in, and Tim says, I'm racking my brains, but I can't think of anyone, so it must have been somebody else. As for online offer friends, I have quite a few, and I'd love to see them in person. Such a great community. Yeah, it definitely is, and just by having a chat, obviously, tonight about some people we'd love to get around the table. What I think is interesting there, Chris, is it's not out of the realms of possibility that we could actually get these people around the table, because like I said, we spoke to them all before, we've met some of them in person, and again, if we can get a festival going at some point next year, who's to say we couldn't have all these people around the table?
Well, that is the plan, isn't it? And what would be great, in like a big grand table, almost like a Crystal Maze style big table with cameras. So it's like, it'd be like a Gogglebox situation where everyone can kind of watch it, us chatting around the table and having fun.
Sorry, have you ever had E.L. Lyons on? Top notch and quite knowledgeable author. No, I don't think we have. But yeah, we're open to recommendations, as we said before. And then Unpopular Counsellor says, by chance have you read the Burnout Story? Haven't read the Burnout Story. They have kindly put a link in the chat for that. If I show it, I don't think it's there if you want to see it.
Is that his book?
Not sure, but I've not read it, so tell us what it's about. We'd love to know. Obviously, we like recommendations on the show as well. But yeah, Chris, potentially getting everyone around the table in that format. Do you know what would be great? It would be brilliant too. Like Mary Shelley went with like Byron and people like that, and they wrote Frankenstein in a weekend.
Yeah,
it'd be great if we could get a few writers together in a weekend and just challenge them all to write short stories in that time.
Whoa now.
Very similar to somebody's book, which again I have on my shelf.
Yeah, but my worry about that is that in that story, what they write comes to life and kills everybody, and I don't want to be killed by my characters.
Words of 11, written by yours truly, Chris Haggart. But yeah, I think that'd be great. Even if I'd love to do like an anthology and just go, do you know what? It's a weekend-based anthology where whatever you do, wherever we go, you come, you write a short story, it gets put into the Right Community Chat Show anthology for that weekend, and we just try and have fun with it. Yeah.
What I was going to say before you said that, and that was, I love that by the way. Noelle. I'm sure I'm saying that right. We've had communications and she's fantastic. Says she's sent us a heart, so thank you very much. And Paige sent us another rose, and I'm not sure what happened, but our support on the support thing I put up on TikTok was for 100 to no, it was for 10 for that goal, and we just went up to 103. So I have no idea what that means, and now the new target is 200. So whatever that was great. Thank you. And she says, I'd rather write a full-length novel rather than a short story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be tricky to do in a weekend, but Yeah, it's tricky. So unpopular counsellor says yes.
It's
I
his
think
book.
that was when it's his book, and he writes about mental health.
Ooh.
And you guys are uniting writers across the globe, which again is what we're trying to do. So yeah, unpopular counsellor. We love people who write about mental health. Obviously, we talk about mental health quite a lot on the show. We've had some deep conversations with our guests when we've had them on. We love it when we can get somebody on that isn't afraid to go into that mental health space, because it's something that we both have admitted to have struggled with in the past. And it's, I think, one of the key things for mental health is if you can learn about other people's experiences and how they overcome those experiences, you might be able to take little tidbits of information from them as well. So obviously that's the whole reason we set up the show. Writers learning about how to be better writers, but we've kind of, along the way, we've realised actually writers are people, and there's some problems that people can face, and if we can help people with that as well, that's great.
Yes, and part of setting up our new CIC, our new community interest company, which is a non-profit social enterprise, after 5 years of podcasting and YouTubing, we decided to take the next step and turn this into a business. So we are currently looking for grants from all those certain types of people, trying to get things like a festival set up next year for our very own sort of world. And one of those things that we're going to do as part of the business is start writing workshops and mental health workshops, to kind of combine them both together as well. So those are things that, you know, having people like yourselves to come and chat to us with your speciality, or even talk about your book that opens up that discussion, would be really good. And yeah, look out for that. And we're working very hard behind the scenes. So, yep.
Yeah, an unpopular counsellor says absolutely the best way to pay homage to our I can't say that word. Lineage? I can't say it now. Lineage. No, it's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, go on.
I can't get it out. Is breaking chains of generational pain. Oh, why? I can't get that word out now. That's going to really irritate me, and I'll be able to say it tonight multiple times, because that's always how things work. I'll be sat in bed saying it like, oh, damn it, why couldn't I say that live? But yeah, lineage. Is that right? No, I'm putting an R in there.
Noel says, so thank you. So excited for you both. You're amazing and so supportive. You deserve all the success. You got me going. The success. So thank you so much for that comment. That means a lot to us to hear that. It kind of gives us that backing to know that we're not crazy and we are going in the right direction. And William Lee, hello to you. Thanks for joining us. That sounds great. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and again, you had a bit more of a schedule, Chris.
Oh.
We were talking about.
Yep. 1 second, everybody.
There was 1-star reviews on there.
Yes, again, I did have one that I really liked. Yeah, where is it gone? Oh yes, one of the reviews, 1-star reviews on The Lord of the Rings by obviously Tolkien. It's 1-star review says, pages and pages of walking. Just take an Uber, Frodo.
Wow. Yeah, that seems like... yeah, those 1-star reviews. Again, if you're watching this and you're an author and you've had a 1-star review, we'd love to hear them. Again, I think, you know, it's probably best for authors not to read the reviews and just stick to the work. But I know a lot of people are tempted to have a little dive into it. My worst type of 1-star review is like the book arrived late, or it had like a bend in the cover or whatever, and it's like, come on, like somebody spent, you know, anywhere between 6 weeks to a year of their life writing this book, and you drop them a 1-star review because, you know, whoever's delivered it has not looked after the sort of delivery properly. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if anyone, if this, I might clip this and put it on Book Talk, right? Anyone that is a book lover, a prolific reader, I know you're busy reading a lot. However, realize what Chris just said. We're indie authors, self-published indie authors. There's a lot of them that follow the show. Realize just how much time and effort and stress and hope and despair goes into writing a book, and how long it takes. And money. It takes a lot of effort all across the board. So if you do have a book that you think, oh, that's pretty good, just take 5 minutes to leave that review, because it will really help that person get that bit more confidence, and exposure. Exposure.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet from Ian Rankin the other day. He said it was just, I'm writing a new book. It never gets easier. Um, and obviously we know he's a prolific author. He's had great success. He's a lovely guy. Obviously we chatted to him as well. But he talks about that as well. Like, when that book's done and then you move on to the next one, it really is just like starting again. And yeah, you've got some muscle memory there, but a lot of the times the ideas are completely new and it does feel like starting out again. And that can be really tricky. So for that, all that effort to be rewarded with a 1-star review because of some sort of weird technicality of the book not being quite right when you get it and not being perfectly polished, it can massively taint an author, especially indie authors as well that are just starting out, trying to branch out, trying to build a readership. Those 1-star reviews early doors can really knock a writer's confidence. So yeah, again, I would just bear that in mind. Obviously, always be honest. If you don't like the book, that's fine. But just try and be, constructive in your criticism, because that's what a lot of authors say when we've had them on the show, that I want something that I can learn from. Like I know some of the bad reviews that I've had for my books are like ended on a cliffhanger. And I was like, yeah, I was trying to write the next book, but now that you've said that, I might be a little less likely to do it.
We've had some comments come in, and there's some good ones. A lot of good conversation happening here on TikTok. Where were we? Okay, go there. Yes, William says, did you guys say you wanted to do a festival for authors? Yes, we do. One of the big projects we've got on the go for our new business, talking about how we bring everyone together and include everybody, get everybody in the mix that can either virtually or live, and we hope to get to a stage where we can pay for people to get there at some stage. What we're looking to do is set up a really unique style author festival, writers and books festival in Wales, hopefully next year. But we want to do it at a level where we're not just going and getting the same people that appear at most festivals around the UK. We want to make it really inclusive and bring a lot of indie authors there. Hopefully some fans from around the globe, that we've got a lot of American followers. Noel just distracted me with a gift, I think, so thank you. Some people from America that follow the show, we'd love to get them across, that they've supported the show. We'd love to get them back and pay for them to come across. So yes, that's the sort of thing we're looking at, and what we want to do is make it as cheap and inclusive and exclusive and fun and just enjoyable, and a big networking opportunity for people, even if you are a bit of a recluse. Just make it something very special that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, because sometimes it does, where you can just come and have fun, no pressure to even promote your stuff. Chances are you'll meet people that will do that, and ask for your stuff anyway, and you can come and watch interviews for free. You can be an interviewee if you want to, that sort of thing. So we're really looking at making something special for the writing community, on the show like we do, but also in real life.
Yeah, one of the things that we get from a lot of authors that come on the show is just how closed off some of the festivals are, in terms of they see the same faces, they see the same fans and things like that, and people come into the shows and the festivals. So what we'd like to do, obviously, is to have a really nice location, have people come, and obviously Wales is a beautiful place. We're looking for venues close to the beach as well, so it's not just a case of being shut off in a space. We'd like to have like barbecue, potentially, obviously environmentally friendly barbecue on the beach and things like that. But also, obviously, one of the things that we do is massively online. So we would capture the festival as well. So even if you couldn't physically get there, you can be there virtually in some capacity as well. And whether that's, we set the festival up so it's almost self-sufficient and can run itself, and then we do a lot of the online stuff and get online as well, bring the festival to you as well, even if you couldn't actually physically make it. Because again, that's something else that these festivals, you can watch the highlights and things like that, and you might see a little clip or a little interview or something like that, but to really get the feel of having been there, if you can't physically get there, then you're going to need some boots on the ground, sort of filming what it's like and things like that, and doing it live as well, like we are doing now. Obviously, we do all our shows live on a Friday. So yeah, doing a festival live, chatting to some of the authors that we've had on the show, like Chris said, we've had over 350 guests on the show, so I'm sure we could get a mix. I'd love to have potential someone like Ian Rankin, and then somebody who is an indie author that's just starting out their career on the same sort of stage, chatting about the same sorts of things. Because one of the things we've noticed is that every writer, regardless of where they are in their career, has lots of commonalities.
Oh, yes.
And you can learn a lot from every single person, not just the people who sell and shift millions of copies.
Well, even with that, it was Mark Billingham that came on our show and said that every time he releases a book, even at this stage of his career, and he has sold millions of books, it says like he's still feeling to get caught out. And what he means by that is procrastination is a bitch, and it follows us all. So, like you said, whether you're writing your first book and you're fearing of putting that out because you feel like a fraud, he's still feeling like that after millions of sold copies. So, we still go through the same feelings that a New York Times bestseller does. So, yes, what we're looking to do, what Chris said to do there, is looking at doing, is really bringing all of that together and not making it, a prime stage for those big authors, but also for the indie authors and the people that are starting on that journey, whether they're 15 years old or whether they're 80 years old, because we know they exist. So, yes, we're trying to make something really, really kind of special there.
And last poet, thank you for joining us. He said, thanks, much enjoyed, fellows. Thank you for joining us for that period of time. Last poet. But again, it's something that sounds like a pipe dream, but we've been doing the show for 5 years. We think we know a little bit about the industry and how it could look and how we can set it all up. And obviously, the connections that we're building are quite good as well. So hopefully in the future, you'll see. Is that you doing that?
No,
really irritating.
It's Noel is spamming us with baby hippos.
Oh, right. That's less irritating.
It's a good thing, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those hippos. I can't believe I just said that. How did that sentence come out of my mouth?
Welcome to 2025.
No reflection to say. Thank you for those hippos. But yeah, hopefully in the future you'll see a writing community chat show festival where people can get together in the beautiful landscape of Wales.
We promise that we are working very hard behind the scenes to try and make that happen. We're networking with a few people. We're hitting a lot of roadblocks at the moment in terms of grants and stuff like that. That's generally down to windows of application. But I've met a guy recently who does a lot of social enterprise work, has his own social enterprises. He sent a few emails on our behalf. So we've got 2 people that have said, let's get a web call up and running to chat about the ins and outs of something. So you never know, that might actually happen soon. And if that's the case, then we can start looking at creating that festival. Going back to a comment that came in, I think was about the 1-star reviews, Chris. And let me just find it there. Yes, Noelle says, I have many, so I assume it was about the 1 stars. She says, my favourite is, in quotes, Too Many Murders for her serial analyzer thriller Dead Wrong. So she's got a serial killer book, and the complaint of a 1-star review that there were too many murders.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite problematic, because obviously how are you going to write a book of that nature without unaliving a few people? Yeah. That's the TikTok thing, isn't it? Like, you can't say certain things. Is that why people are saying it? Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I just thought it was a new trend that I really didn't like.
No. Yeah, no, I think it's a genuine thing, because obviously certain content can't be talked about.
Wow.
So they use different phrases. Showing our age there.
Yeah. She says yes, exactly. You can get banned for saying it.
Yeah. And Tim says, you got to trick the algorithm, and he's laughing alongside us.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, Chris, I had no idea.
None of the M word. You have to bring the unaliveness.
Jeep. Oh, I was going to say something else then, just in case.
Yeah, which again is a sentence that I didn't think I would say today. Thanks for the hippos and bring the unaliveness.
Yeah, I don't think we might get banned on this show at some stage, because I've got a potty mouth. Can you swear on TikTok? Just generally?
Let's say the rule of thumb is no.
Okay.
And then just go with that.
I can't promise one won't slip out. That's all I'm saying.
As long as it's I think you're all right. I think you'll be good.
Well, there's been some people spamming the like button on this TikTok. For those of you that are watching all around, I know on the other platforms we've got 88 people watching on different platforms, so thank you so much. On TikTok, you get likes and it pops up. We've had 20,000 likes on this video, Chris.
Wow.
That's a lot of likes.
Yeah, I mean, if 20,000 people said they liked something, yeah, it's quite good. Well, but obviously, it's not about us. It's about the writers in the writing community that are watching the show and that want to learn, want to pass on their knowledge. Obviously, we've had some people today talk about their books as well. People recommending other authors and things like that. So that's what we're here for. Obviously, it's great that we've got a few people liking the show and watching the show, but we are here to try and find those new nuggets of information, those guests that we've not had on before, the people whose stories you want us to explore and pick apart on the show. So yeah, if you have got any recommendations, if you do fancy coming on the show and you've got stories to tell, then yeah, get in touch with us, because we've been going for 5 years and we're not stopping anytime soon. Yes. So we've got plenty of slots in there for more interviews.
Yeah, with that in mind, season 16 is starting very, very soon, and how you can do that is, if you're interested to appear yourself, send us a little bit of information about yourself, maybe a link to your website or whatever the case may be, or your new book or one of your books, to the Writing Community Chat Show at gmail.com. And just put in the subject interview request or something like that, or you can go to our website, thewritingcommunitychatshow.com, and then go into the apply that side, I think, and you'll find the links there. And also social media. If you've got a recommendation that someone, if you're on X and you follow someone that you love, just tag them in a post to us, and then we can have a look into it, and we might make that happen on your behalf, and it'll do us a favor, and yeah, hopefully we'll get a lot of information out of that person.
Yeah, and obviously we've got our own interests in authors. Obviously, I'm going to mention him again because more people are watching as well. But Bob Mortimer is one of the guys that I would like to get on. We did a little appeal to Bob Mortimer at the start. But equally, if there's somebody that you want to hear from and you think, oh, I've just read this great book, you guys should read it, or you should get them on, I'd love to hear a little bit more about them. Obviously, we've had some brilliant authors on the show, one of which, who I absolutely loved, was the author of Rivers of London, Ben Aronovich. He is fantastic, and he was great to chat to. And again, it just started because I read his book. I thought, oh, I wonder if we can chat to him. Reached out to him. He said, yeah, and he came on, and he was a brilliant interview. So if you've got a book that you've just read or you've just finished, or even in the process of reading, and you think, do you know what, I'd love to know a little bit more about the ins and outs of how this book came to be, and yeah, just tag us up with who it is and we'll try and get in touch with them.
Yeah, William just said that people were speaking about him on his live today, and he never heard of the book before. Well, that River of London series is a big collection, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's got like 12 books in it now.
Yeah.
But again, somebody who wrote for Doctor Who. We've had a few people on that have done that, sort of made that transition from television into writing novels. And again, Ben talked about how he uses the Save the Cat structure. And again, he's really successful. And when he did come on, he talked about how the fact that he wasn't really prolific in terms of writing. He did get anywhere between 150 words to sort of 300-400 words a day. And then that was him. He was done. So I think for a lot of inspiring authors as well, or aspiring, inspiring.
From aspiring authors to aspiring
authors. I think that's a really good message to take. Somebody who's written multiple books and had a lot of success with those books as well, still only manages to get that sort of maximum 400 words a day, which most people could probably fit into their time scale. So yeah, it doesn't have to be those sort of big writing sprints where you write 1,000 words plus every single day. You can be successful by just chipping away at it every single day, getting a few hundred words down, and producing a book at the end of the year.
Absolutely. I think Noelle is really enjoying the animations that happens when she donates or gives a gift to the TikTok. So I did say stop it, and she said no, and now she's just done it again. So thank you so much, honestly. But the noises are funny, and you know what? You can hear some on there, so I'll do a little a little scream in my
little
reaction to that. So thank you.
Love
Yes.
it. But yeah. More authors. That's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Season 16. Who can we have that's not on our schedule already? That's what we want to know. So send it in the comments now. But what I want to suggest is we could have maybe 10 minutes more, Chris.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see from everybody is question time. Send us questions. If you want us to answer them as personal kind of people, send them in. If you want us to answer as the show, or just get answers from your questions that are based on writing, because believe it or not, after 360 interviews plus, we've learned quite a lot about the writing process. So if you have questions about writing, about us, or about the show, or about anything in general, please send them in to us now, and we'll spend the next 10 minutes answering your questions. That's what I've got for you.
Yeah, and hopefully, obviously, we'll get a few questions in. But yeah, again, I'm just going to do a slight appeal. If anyone knows Bob Mortimer,
just going to put a restraining order in, Chris.
Yeah, but you've got to manifest these things. I never thought we'd have the likes of John Niven on the show and Ian Rankin, but we did.
Yeah.
And equally, discovering someone like Halo Scott was fantastic. Reading her work and getting her on and chatting to her. Ross Young again is a real friend of the show whose work is brilliant. If you like Terry Pratchett, if you're into that sort of fantasy he's going to hate me for saying Terry Pratchett because I say it a lot to him. But Terry Pratchett, Robert Rankin, if you're into those types of authors, you probably really like Ross Young. Wrote a series called Heads. And again, he's got some really good books in there as well. Yeah.
You just said Robert Rankin.
Yeah, that is an author.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were confusing two people. Paige just sent a hat and a moustache.
Nice.
I have no idea what that is. Okay, we have got some questions, Chris. One of them from William, thank you. What genre is your favourite to read? Chris, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, I'm going to say crime with an element of comedy. And this is only a recent thing because before I'd have said very much crime, but now I'm kind of moving into the comedy space as well. And it's something that this is why I'm really excited about Friday's guest as well, because obviously he set up Comedy Central. And I think writing comedy is probably the hardest narrative to attempt, because everyone could think, oh, I'm hilarious, I'm funny. But when you put things onto a paper, it's really quite difficult to make somebody laugh. Like, I think scaring somebody or making somebody feel, nervous or anxious or, having a bit of action, I think they're quite, not easy, because obviously they're not, but I think they are easier than writing comedy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to say comedy at the minute. That's what I'm reading a lot of. Comedy in and around crime. I was reading Dirt Gently, Douglas Adams. I was reading his book this afternoon. So it's that sort of weird, obscure comedy with the sort of random elements as well that I kind of read.
Yeah, definitely. He replied saying he likes fantasy and mystery thrillers. For me, horror I absolutely love, and sort of space horror. So like the Alien series. I know Tim Leben wrote a lot of the Alien books, which I really enjoyed. Listened to them on audiobook as well. World War Z or Z. I always mixed it up on the show when I interviewed him. Which is just an absolute game changer for me in the zombie genre, and which is why I ended up writing my first 2 books in the zombie world. So I love horror. It's just another element of escapism for me. Crime, fantastic, but you're in the real world, whereas horror, and sometimes in some types of horror, you can be in a completely different place. And I know that screams, why don't you read fantasy? But then that's probably a bit too far for me. So I like to mix it up with either some sort of futuristic space horrors or just horror in general. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fussy. I'll read pretty much anything, and I have. Except for Kristen Bailey. Kristen Bailey, she's obviously, the sort of rom-com, sort of a slightly raunchy rom-com type. Then you've got the likes of like Michael Connelly, which is a straight-up sort of detective thrillers. Chuck Palahniuk is someone who's trying to get on multiple times. He writes so many different books in different genres. Andy Weir, who we mentioned, obviously in the sci-fi genre. So yeah, I'm kind of like a mix. I like to go into all different genres. If it's a good book, I'll read it. And yeah, that's why I'm so keen to get lots of recommendations from different authors as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that question. There was another. Lots of comments coming in, so I've got to find it. Have you got another one there? Have you got any there, Chris?
No, we've gone all quiet on the Western Front here.
Come on. You're 97 people watching on your social side.
Yeah, but maybe they're not all up for questions.
That's fair enough. That is fair.
Yeah, we've got, about 6 minutes left?
Yeah.
To throw in those questions.
Oh, yes. Reposted. Thank you, Noel. She said, what's the best writing advice you've been given and the worst?
The best, I think, is just being consistent every day, even if it's only one line. And a lot of people have said that if you're not in the mood to write, if you just say, do you know what, I'm going to write one line, normally a couple of lines follow. But even if they don't, just staying consistent with it is probably the best advice that I've heard. The worst advice that I've actually got written in a book. So I'll read this. So this is The Sleepwalker by Joseph Knox. Again, brilliant author. His series is based in Manchester, and his advice was, so I asked him for 2 tips. Well, I didn't ask him for 2 tips, he gave me 2 tips. So he said, my writing tip is to read as much as possible and be a little egotistical. Yeah, so he's like, be confident. But then his second tip is be patient and get it right. And then his third tip is, this is the worst advice I've ever had, be blind drunk as much as possible. What idiot said that? And then it was your very good buddy, Joseph Knox. So yeah, worst advice, be blind drunk as much as possible. I actually did try that. Obviously I've been sober for over a year now, but when I first got that book, I thought, I'll try it. And I had been drinking, and I couldn't remember what I wrote, but I wrote about 3,000 words, and all of it was terrible. So, yeah, that's the worst advice ever. Do not be blind drunk when you're trying to write.
Yeah, good advice. Good and bad there, Chris. For me, the good advice would be just keep writing and develop yourself over time. The more I've written my first book, I can clearly see the difference between my first book, my second book, my third book. The more you write, especially if you're starting out in the genre, in writing in general, the more you understand kind of the structure naturally, as well as you learn from reading or from the authors that we interview, you hear the advice that they've got, you can really develop yourself as a writer, and you just kind of absorb all of that information and your writing improves. The worst advice I've got is kind of like what I do. Sometimes just sit at the computer, and like Chris said, if you can manage your time load much more efficiently, but if you sit there with sprees of motivation and you spend hours and hours and hours there just going over and over your work, you keep ploughing your work out there, you'll get to a point where you're kind of a bit burnt out. But when you go back and kind of overlook what you've written the next day or the day after, there's a lot of gibberish in there. So you need to look after your mind and be rested, and almost treat it more of a structured, relaxed kind of situation, rather than just, I've got to get this out now. Take your time, be patient.
I think it was Luca Vesti that we had on the show a long time ago, and he said the first draft should just be a vomit draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely agree with that. If you're trying to perfect things on the first time round, it's never going to happen. So do the vomit draft and then go back and perfect it afterwards.
Yeah.
That'd be another little tip that we've definitely heard.
I like that, the vomit draft.
Yeah. Get it out.
Who was it that said, I think it was Stephen King maybe, about the skeleton and then adding the flesh and everything like that? It was like building the process that way.
It does sound like something King could say, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody on the show that said that.
Yeah, maybe. Noel says, good advice from Luca. Mine first drafts are pure chaos.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
that's what they need to be, because then obviously you can go back and tame a first draft. But you can't tame something that isn't there. So.
Yep. That is very, very, very true. So, last call for questions, and then we'll wrap this up, guys, because we've been on here for an hour and a half. Yeah! Loves those noises. Yes, but to be honest, this is great. What we've started doing here on TikTok is kind of accurately bringing in more people from different avenues. So, yeah, we spent a lot of time building up our Twitter, which sadly, as X took over, it's kind of faded away. We've grown our Substack a bit. We're on LinkedIn. We're currently streaming on YouTube, of course. We've got a great following there as well. And TikTok. TikTok Lives is something that we've just started doing and we're loving right now. So we're now streaming this to 4 different platforms. And what we want to do is bring everybody together. Whether you're on the different platforms doesn't mean you can't all enjoy and get in the conversation with each other. Yes, social attack.
Yeah, exactly. One of the huge benefits of this show is the writing community that is actually attached to the show, and the comments that we get during the live interviews, not just to the authors, because to be honest, we do get some questions for the authors that we have on the show, but the comments sort of section where people meet on a weekly basis, they chat to each other about the things that they've been through that week. We have an after show for the Substack subscribers as well, that people come on and chat to us on that. And again, it's one of the highlights of the week in terms of with like-minded people that have the same sorts of issues in the writing world as you, and you can chat and talk it through. And that is definitely one of the huge benefits of this show in comparison to others. It's the community that's in and around the show because of what we do.
Well, actually, a lot of our after shows have become almost like a mental health sort of workshop, like we discussed, but not with just people, like a workshop like instructors and tutors, students. We are really good friends with the people that have become our friends, show friends, and joined the after show kind of community. And we sit there and we chat to each other, and we really get things out in the open. And we talk about writing, of course, but what we do is also support each other in many ways. So yeah, I think that's turned into something quite special. So
yeah.
Yep, go on.
No, I was going to say, it is very much like a family. Like we've talked, people in that after show, we've talked about all sorts of things, personal relationships, family members being ill, children, things like that. We talk about everything, and obviously things that go on in the world as well that impact people. We have a lot of people from America. They get some really bad weather and tornadoes and stuff at times, and we've been there to chat to them and to try and offer that support. And sometimes some people come on and say, "Oh, I've had a really bad week," or such and such of things happened. And again, it's a great network of people that have come together because of a common love of reading and writing, and then just stay together as a result in terms of chatting on a weekly basis. Not always, because we don't do it every single week, but when we do get together, it's normally a really productive chat.
Yeah. We are considering putting the odd after show out on here as well. So we'll do the show on our Substack Live for exclusive members, which, in case you don't know, it comes out to the public 2 weeks after. So you don't miss out on the show. It's just exclusive for those paying members that want to see it live there and then, and listen and watch it within that 2 week kind of window, to try and support the show in this business that we're trying to build. So that's why that's there. And then we're discussing whether we should then bring that onto TikTok, and maybe like this, where it's out to different avenues for the after show. So if you're interested in that and you're watching this on TikTok now, let us know. And if you're interested elsewhere, you'd like to see our after show now and then. But what I'd love to do, Paige says you should do a left Chris versus right Chris battle on TikTok. I'd like the idea of that. But what I'd really like to do is go back to the old panel shows we used to do and bring that onto TikTok. But it takes a lot of prep and effort, but whether we can do it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, the panel shows are obviously we've done loads of shows, but the panel shows are my favourite in terms of they're so much fun. There's a few on there that you can watch on YouTube now and go back. But yeah, panel show on TikTok would be great because, so many people got involved with those. It's a bit chaotic at times because there's 7 of us on the screen. But it's really good fun, and they've been brilliant shows. And Chris, you were a fantastic host every single time that you did it. And I think I undefeated as the team captain, because I think I had a pretty good record as a team captain. But again, if you want to get involved with something like that and you'd love to be involved in a panel show, we've had different panels in the past. We had a crime writers panel, we had a WCCS friends panel, we had an indie authors panel, and we've had a few more, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got a group of writer friends and you think, do you know what, we'll take on the WCCS, we're the sci-fi authors, or we're the romance authors, or the erotic authors, and we want to tackle the WCCS, get in touch with us, because we will then go away and I'll put a team together, and you can come on the panel show and fight it out for that victory of saying that you won the panel show.
Yeah, what we could do is develop it to the next stage now, and potentially, if a team beats you, we could send them out some merch as a prize.
Yeah, we could do that.
What I was going to say is, if that is a thing, if we're deciding now, we will do it maybe once a month if we can put that together. What happens is we need 3 people in an opposing team. So, like Chris said, you could be any 3, certain sort of genre, or just 3 writer friends. And Chris's home team will need 2 defending players. So that will be 2 people to support Chris Hooley in his team. And you have a bunch of rounds where you do things like kind of what we did earlier. You get a bunch of words from the audience. You have 30 seconds. Was it a minute? Or a minute or 2 to write a blurb,
yeah,
and then we vote on the blurbs. There was loads of different rounds.
There was a Whose Line Is It Anyway round where you got famous lines from books and we had to guess what they were. There was a question-based round with an A, B, C, or D answer. So yes. Kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type stuff. And yeah, we had different points for different rounds. I think there's a head-to-head round as well where people had to go head-to-head. But yeah, we just tried to. We took that sort of 80s game show vibe and brought it to YouTube. And like we said, we've done a few of them because they are quite tricky to put together and to get 7 people together at the same time. But they are brilliant shows and very entertaining and hilarious as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, we should, the audience did it yesterday. Spam the BBC and tell them we should be doing that show on telly with real people in real situations, because that would be fun. But we're also going to do it the best we can on this platform for the near future. So, do you know what would be great? Just popped into my head, Chris. If we were to get that writing festival up and running next year, we'll have to have a live panel show.
Yeah, live panel show. Yeah, but the panel shows are great. So if you're watching this now and you're thinking, do you know what? My general knowledge is pretty good in the world of writing. I can write on demand. I can do something that's quite funny. Obviously, we were always looking for like funny pitches.
The impression round.
Oh yeah.
How could we forget that?
Yeah, the impression round was brilliant. Yeah, exactly as it sounds. It was, Chris would pick fictional characters. He would show them to the team members in advance, and they had to do an impression that then everybody else obviously didn't know about. And yeah, some of them were brilliant. Try and do an impression of a dolphin or something. But yeah, it was really random, but brilliant and really funny to watch as well.
Here's the beauty of getting in these sort of shows that we're doing here right now, these lives, because William, who's asked us loads of questions, supported us on TikTok, has just sent his interview request through. So based on tonight's show, he has now said, I was in your live stream this evening and you guys mentioned emailing if you want to join the show. And then he's gone on to talk about himself and attached a cover and a link. That's exactly what we want. So if you are like William and want to get yourself on the show, that's what you need to do. So, and someone in the comments says his book looks great. So there you go, guys. Thank you for doing that, William. And we look forward to getting back to you.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point to wrap it up in terms of, we set out today with a mission of just reaching more people, speaking to a few more people, trying to bring more people onto the show to chat to us about all good things writing and books. So yeah, if you're watching this and you fancy doing that, or you fancy getting involved in the panel show, or even if you just got some recommendations or you've read a good book that week, and you want us to know about it, then yeah, please do get in touch with us. And yeah, join us for Friday, because Friday live on YouTube. We are going to. Oh, it's not live on YouTube. I've just lied.
It's on Substack.
Yeah, it's live on Substack, but in 2 weeks' time it'll go live on YouTube. So if you can't pay for a subscription, or obviously you've got a world of subscriptions going on already, you can watch that show on YouTube in 2 weeks' time. But we are interviewing the founder of Comedy Central, so it should be a brilliant show to look forward to.
Paige said, will it be live on TikTok? Unfortunately not. The reason that we've got Substack there is we're building a community of supporters there. I think the subscription, like Chris said, if you can't afford it, that's fair enough. For those that could afford it, it is literally a £5. I think it's like the cost of a coffee once a month. So what we do is the live shows on there, and everything we do behind a paywall. So the live show, our merch we sell, all the things that we're getting spammed by Noel on the screen there, I don't know what they mean. We've got like 650 of them. No idea what that is, but thank you so much. So anything that we're getting in terms of revenue now, which still isn't a lot, we're still spending out to keep the show running every month. But that is going to be the income for the business, the social enterprise, which is an ultimate way to give back to you guys. So we're trying to get that ball rolling really well. So just coming over to join the lives would support us doing that as well. So you're helping us out, but you're also hopefully in return helping yourselves out at some point.
Yeah, and on top of that, obviously we do have the Friday show that we do on a regular basis, but we are looking to speak to people and potentially do some live shows through this platform to all areas, and TikTok and everything as well. I think Will Carver might be a good shout. He's just got a brand new book out, as we said. I'm sure he'd be up for something like that. So we will try and bring you some shows in the future that are not from Substack, but obviously we do that because, as Chris said, it does come back into the business. But yeah, we will definitely try and bring some shows to everybody simultaneously and live, so you can get in touch and you can contribute that way and ask your questions.
Hey Sharon, who's just joined and waved. Unfortunately, we're about to end the show, but nice to see you here, and I'm sure that's from Noel sharing the live stream around. So, but thank you to everybody. She says, thanks for a great evening, guys. Really enjoyed it. We did too, and this is what we love doing. This is our passion project. It's now our business, so we want to create that into our sustainable future, and something that we can really just bring the community together, because it is a lonesome job. And we want to make it fun, we want to make it entertaining, and not educational at the same time, without being on the boring side, if that makes sense. So yes, keep us in your, what's that, Chris?
Thoughts.
Keep us in your thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you've got a writing bill this week, remember the best advice we have is stay consistent, even if it's a small amount. So stay consistent this week. Get in touch with us, tell us your goals. We'll try and hold you accountable on the show, because again, we know how lonely it can be when you sat at your computer trying to get those word counts in. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for just staying with us and asking some questions and engaging. And yeah, we hope you join us again in the near future.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Look after yourselves. If you do join us on the show Friday, we will see you there. Bye, guys.